What up, yo? That's Sean Designs. Back with a piece I like to call Weezy. Done Procreate 5. Let's get to it. Now, normally I like to do a lot of cartoon work. My favorite form of artwork is cartoons. I'm always studying, gesture drawings and shapes and colors and stuff like that. But when I really started taking art serious, the first thing I learned was portrait work. I went to a performing arts high school and I was majoring in fine art. And in fine art, they would teach us a lot of still life stuff, how to look at, the light, how light hits an object. We would study things like that. And what I gravitated to was portrait work. Around that time, it was a lot of hip hop magazines out. And so I would look at the posters that I liked in the magazines and I would draw them. And I started doing, it was all in pencil, so everything was black and white. I would have these big 20 by 30 pieces that I was doing by hand. And it came in valuable in the long run because as I got older and I started moving on to digital stuff, I used what I learned from my black and white portraits and add them to my color stuff. So when I made this piece, I wanted to go a little bit more realistic and kind of bring it back to my older stuff. This is actually the second version I did of Lil Wayne. I did a black and white piece years ago, so I kind of wanted to compare my old work to my new work. And on top of that, it was around Black History Month. So I was doing a different black artist every week of February. This happened to be my second piece that I did. I did a Biggie piece before this one, and I did a Michael Jackson piece after this one. But out of the three, this is my favorite. So, as I said in my other videos, I like to start with a sketch layer. In my sketch layer, I do everything loose, rough, trying to get the shape and the feel of the piece, and just seeing how things are gonna look. And once I do my sketch layer, I jump into my line art layer. My line art layer is where I make everything permanent. Once I do line art, it's kind of no going back. This is how it's gonna look. This is the direction it's going in. That's what my line art layer is for. Then after that, I create my color layer, where I just make everything, all the solid colors, I block them in. And also, when I make my color layer, I erase my sketch layer. Or if I don't erase it, I just turn the layer off so I don't see it. A lot of times, when the piece is finished, I like to take that sketch layer, put it on top of the final image, and drop the opacity on it, so it gives it kind of a textured look to it. It looks kind of rough. I like when it looks kind of grungy and, little distorted almost. So that sketch layer comes in handy at the end. Now, a lot of pieces I do have, most of the pieces I do actually have multiply layers or shadow layers. In this particular piece, I added a highlight layer. Your highlight is the opposite of your shadows, obviously. It's all your lights and your wherever your sunlight is coming from. If you're doing a piece, that's going to be on your highlight layer. In this piece, I wanted to make the jewelry real shiny, so everything I added on my highlight layer, I duplicated it so it's more intense. So I have I want to say 3 highlight layers just for the jewelry. And then I have little other highlight layers, as you can see, with the shades and, different lights that's throughout the image. And another thing is, in this piece, I used a lot of reference images, rather. Don't be scared to use references. I couldn't see certain tattoos and things like that. So instead of guessing it, I took some reference pictures and I just used it to my benefit and added it into the piece, as you can see here. Whatever you can use to make your piece look good, use it, as long as you're not stealing. Now, one thing with tattoos, if you ever look at somebody's tattoos, it's not 100% black. Tattoos have a grayish, bluish tint to it, especially if it's an older tattoo because it's been worn, it's not fresh. So when you're making tattoos on a piece, you want to make sure you think about that. In this case, the tats are I want to say a grayish blue. almost navy blue. So I would draw the tats on the skin, put a multiply layer over that, make some shadows so it blends in with the piece, then make a highlight layer on top of that so it blends in even more, and it makes it look more realistic. And also you'll see I use texture for the hair. I started to draw the hair, shade it up and color it, but it was gonna be time consuming because the way Wayne's dreads is set up it's a lot going on in it. So in a situation like that, I would get a reference image and use it as best I can. And once again, go over top of that with some multiply, some highlights, some shadows, make everything kind of come together. And when I'm making pieces, I don't like to draw on white. My sketch layer will be on the white background, but once I got an idea of how I'm gonna get the piece going, I change the white to a grayish background, because I feel like a solid white background kinds of distracts you from the picture. And a lot of times when I'm sure what background I'm gonna use, I put it in the beginning and I take pieces of the background, the color, and I add it into the image. And then again, it just makes the piece blend better with the background. It makes it look like it's in the piece and not on the piece. Then after I'm done, I put a grunge layer on top of everything. Just bring everything together even more. Add some more highlights. And then there we go. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this piece. Hope you got some tips from it, some pointers you can use in your own artwork. And as always, you can follow me on all social media at Dashawn Designs. And I'll see you guys on the next time. Peace.